Start of the week for week number 4, it's Jared Goff. You know how miserable Jared Goff has been? Go back to last year. They had a bye in week 12, and 11 games since then. 11 games since then, including the playoffs. He is averaging, are you ready for this? 13.5 fantasy points, and that's in leagues with 6 points for passing touchdowns. Only 2 times in that span has he been over 20 fantasy points. Once was in week 2. Once was week 17 last year when he went for 31 fantasy points. You know what's miserable? Tampa Bay's defense. I don't care what they've done to start the season. They played an injured Cam Newton in one game. Their defense, 49ers defense helped them out because Jameis Winston was so bad, so it took some possessions away, and Jimmy Garoppolo should have had 2 touchdowns in that game. And then we saw Daniel Jones expose them last week, and I think Jared Goff does the same thing. Top 5 fantasy quarterback for week number 4. Sportsline raising the ante and calling him the third best quarterback. I love the setup for Jared Goff. He is one of my favorite plays, regardless of position, for week number 4. Agree?
I don't like him as much as you do, but I still think he's a top 10 quarterback because that Tampa Bay defense is so bad.
Yeah, the only thing Jared Goff needs is for Tampa Bay to put up a couple of touchdowns. My only concern would be that the Rams go run heavy, but I absolutely love Goff, and I do think he'll be top 5.
I don't think we're going to see the Rams take their foot off the gas if they have the opportunity to, because this could be the get-right game that they've been waiting for. I'm starting Goff well over Tom Brady. I don't like the matchup for him against Buffalo. He has struggled against Sean McDermott's defense, and I think Buffalo's defense is legit. And the guy that I would stream if I'm stuck is Mason Rudolph, and one guy that I would start him over that's of a name value would be Baker Mayfield. I like the setup for Rudolph at home against Cincinnati more so than I do for Baker going into Baltimore. Dave, your start, sit, and stream at quarterback is who?
I'm going to start with Daniel Jones, who last week lit the Bucs defense on fire. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. That certainly adds to his fantasy floor, and he's taking on the Redskins, who played on Monday. Now they're on the road the following Sunday. It's a great opportunity for Daniel Jones. And by the way, no Saquon Barkley. Do you really think the Giants are going to give the ball to Wayne Gallman 25 times? I don't think so. This offense will flow through Daniel Jones. I'm going to sit Jameis Winston against those L.A. Rams. I think his offensive line's in big trouble in this game. I think he's going to get hit and sacked a lot. And if Chris Godwin isn't on the field, that makes it even worse. This Rams secondary matches up very, very well with Tampa Bay's wide receivers. I think the only way that Jameis has a good game is if O.J. Howard has a good game, and O.J. Howard hasn't had a good game yet this year, so you can't count on that. And I would stream Kyle Allen against the Texans. According to Sports Info Solutions, he was on target on 77% of his throws. Way better than Cam Newton was when he played earlier this season. Quarterbacks are completing 70% of their throws against the Texans for 7.4 yards per attempt. I think he meshes well with what their offense is, and I think he can come through with a 252 stat line, maybe 1 turnover along the way. A good fantasy quarterback to use over, again, Baker Mayfield, Jameis Winston.
I'm starting Kyle Allen over Tom Brady. I think there's a high ceiling for Kyle Allen this week in his matchup against Houston. By the way, former Houston Cougar, going back to his college hometown. Heath, your start, sit, and stream at quarterback.
I was arguing against sitting Matthew Stafford last week. I'm starting Matthew Stafford this week. The reason is volume. He's been very good this season on a per pass attempt basis. The problem is the last 2 weeks, he just hasn't thrown the football very much. 30 and 32 attempts. That will not be an option against this Kansas City Chiefs team that's going to put up 35 like they do every single week. Matthew Stafford is a top 10 quarterback for me. I'm sitting Baker Mayfield. You kind of already talked about that, Jamie. And in the stream, as long as his foot's okay, Case Keenum against the New York Giants are giving up 332 pass yards per game, 10.5 yards per attempt. And Keenum himself is 3rd in the NFL in passing yards and a top 10 fantasy quarterback so far this season.
If Keenum is out, any interest in as a streaming option, we would assume it would be Dwayne Haskins, but could be Colt McCoy because he's back in practice. Any interest in one of those 2 guys if, in fact, we get word from Jay Gruden that that guy is starting?
I would start them over Baker Mayfield still, but
Colt
not
McCoy,
really. Colt McCoy
or Dwayne Haskins.
Or Dwayne Haskins.
Interesting.
Over Baker, but
I don't know
because the matchup is what it is.
I would just start Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I would just find another quarterback.
I would start Andy Dalton over both those guys as well if it's Haskins or McCoy. I would like to see Keenum out there. I actually like Keenum better than Tom Brady myself as well.